On this episode, we want to give a shout out to Shelby Bottoms Nature Center and Park. We love this park. When we were deciding to do dad walks, we knew this was the park we wanted to go to. They've got lakes, they've got playgrounds, they've got baseball fields, they've got it all. You've got to check out Shelby Bottoms Nature Center and Park. Welcome to another episode of the Nashville Dads. This week we have on Brandon Morrison. We talk about having a baby during COVID, parental leave, and his side hustle with the baking notification project. We hope you enjoy. I just had the wrong input on, so I was going to that mic. So I was like, wait, your vocal level should be much higher than what it is. And now it is. So there we go.
Turn that sucker up high.
Yeah, I was like, wow, why is this so... Oh, it's because you weren't paying attention, Devin.
So I used all my best material during that first minute. So, sorry,
man,
guys.
My bad.
Rewind.
So
Sounds good.
oh man, how do you like having a daughter so far? I know it's got to be different.
Honestly, I mean, honestly, like the only thing that feels different is literally changing diapers. I mean, like everything else about it is like she is a cute, adorable pile of like muscle and mass.
Yes.
And is slowly turning into a human. And that's pretty much it for it. So, I feel like all of the like other like things that are different, like we got her first set of like head bows the other day, and otherwise has mostly been wearing like hand-me-downs from her brother. And they're all pretty gender neutral, so it's not like it's she's running out with like muscle tees or whatever. But it's but yeah, I mean, like honestly, most of that is like external pressures of like, oh, this is different or anything. Like frankly, like she rolls around, she burps, she smiles, she plays. It's all the same deal right now.
I think whenever we had our son, it was about the same. Like, oh, changing diapers is very different than what I'm used to. And here we go.
Yeah, it's definitely like a mechanical difference, but otherwise it's like great. Yeah, I'm awesome. Yeah, like it's awesome that you're here, and I look forward to navigating all of the external societal pressures that are going to come in to play with that.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Question: is it easier or harder
to clean a boy diaper versus a girl diaper?
Yeah.
I feel like boys don't get UTIs and girls can if you aren't very accurate with wiping the diaper.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think the opportunity for sickness, and if you don't do a good job that your kid could get sick just because you didn't make sure to wipe everything is a little bit different.
Gotcha. So. Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty much it from same answer.
Yeah. Knock on wood. We have not had that.
Yeah, you've had every other sickness.
Yeah.
So,
oh, man.
Ada was sick with literally everything else her first year, but did not get UTIs.
No,
so.
Thank God.
But no, that is like one of the things when you're changing a diaper for a boy versus a girl. It's like, okay, if I am lazy for this diaper change, this kid might get a UTI, and then they won't be able to communicate that they have a UTI.
Right.
So unless they're screaming and have a fever.
Yeah.
I would like to avoid that scenario. I'm going to double check some things.
Yep. 5 minutes of laziness will turn into a week of whatever. So it's
basically,
like, I don't want to deal with that.
Yep. Especially when they can't tell you that they just have a temperature and you're like, oh, are they 4-month-old? That could be the list of things that could be wrong is just endless. Right. So let's try to eliminate what can be added to that list a little bit.
For sure.
What about accidents? What was easier, daughter or son? As far as like when you're changing.
Oh,
and if they
cold air is cold air, man. If they're gonna pee on you, they're gonna pee on you.
Yeah. I mean,
ratio about the same, 50-50?
I think so.
Yeah, I don't. The differences between my children are. I keep slowing it down in this because I'm imagining like my daughter listening to this in like 10 years, like digging this up somehow and being like, why did you? Anyway,
this is the detail you mentioned, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thanks, y'all.
You're welcome.
Play this during her wedding.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think any differences between them has nothing to do with her gender. Yeah.
Whenever, since your first kid was 4 weeks early and you went to the NICU,
we didn't go to the NICU, but we did. We were like right. So he was born 35 weeks, 6 days, and like 20 something hours. So it was basically like,
oh my gosh,
right on that line.
Yeah. Okay.
We did end up staying in the hospital for like 5 days instead of like 1 or 2. Just for several reasons. Like they were like we were kind of on that like edge of like, do we need the NICU or not?
Yeah.
We were on, this was like pretty high COVID period. So like, like they were like, we couldn't have like visitors in the hospital. We couldn't, like there was like no like home support or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then, being first time parents, like we barely understood how babies worked anyway. So it's just like, okay, like they took pity on us and they let us stay for an extra couple of days and it was nice. But
wait, so he was born like August of 2020.
Yeah, August 2020.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So yeah, where everyone's still like, your husband, you're the dad. You can be in there, right? Yeah, we'll let him in there.
We'll think about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, yeah, because I was gonna say during the summertime, I think there were times where the husband was not allowed to.
I feel like it was all up in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, had Henry been born like 2 months earlier, I probably wouldn't have been allowed in. And I wouldn't have been allowed in had either of us tested positive for COVID. So it was definitely a really weird time to have a kid because, you're just in this situation where like nobody really knows what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And, at that point, I think we were past the like, do we have to like wash all of our groceries scenario for COVID? But it was still just like this like very strange, like we don't really know what works and what doesn't work for like protection. So we're just going to like go into like isolation for everything. And, it was scary because, like you're going to a hospital and like having a baby is already pretty scary because like it's a pretty like, like it's a big medical procedure if nothing else.
Yes.
And on top of that, there's this random disease floating around that may kill you and you don't really know like how it's going to do it at this point. And it's just, it was not a fun time from that perspective, but we got to come home with a healthy kid. And so that was great.
Yeah. I remember, for mine, it was September of 2021.
Yeah.
Same for you, for Josh. Were you like pretty cautious?
Josh was like 10 days late. So like in those last 10 days, it was like, all right, I'm going to go to Vandy and just like walk up and be like, hey, if my wife goes into labor, which literally should happen any day. Because that was also like, hey, the emergency room is filled up with the COVID patients.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey, I just want to make sure when we get here, if my wife is in active labor, I'm not sitting in an emergency room next to someone who is suffering from COVID before we go up there. You do COVID. Like, can I avoid all of this? And they're like, oh, yeah, sure. You just walk over here. And I'm like, all right, you guys do this every day. You're being very casual about this. This is not for me. What I mostly remember is Heather was tested for COVID and she was negative. So she was all good. But I was never tested and neither was our doula. Yeah. And I'm like, why is that? Like, I understand my body fluids probably won't be getting on you like my wife's, but like I would have assumed some test of like, hey, is he good or not? So
where did you have her at?
Vandy.
Okay.
Yeah. But you did a C-section, right? I feel like C-section versus like induction is very
scheduled C-section, and we were at St. Thomas Midtown. Or no, yes, St. Thomas Midtown.
By the Krispy Kreme or somewhere else? Okay, never mind.
I don't know.
You know what? That's too personal of a question.
Yeah.
That is too personal of a question.
We found the limit.
But it used to be another hospital.
Oh, Baptist Hospital.
Baptist, yes. But, I never got tested. I don't even think maybe Haley got tested. It was around that time that it, like, the thought of it was kind of shifting a little bit more into the, okay, we kind of know what this is and everything like that. So we were supposed to have our masks on, but I don't want to get anybody in trouble.
No, that's what it was for us. We were supposed to have our mask on, but like the nurse would be like, you just tested negative. You're fine.
Yeah,
like,
they didn't care.
Yeah.
Because it was kind of exhausting because we weren't getting any sleep, but every time that somebody would come in, we'd have to grab our mask and then put it back on and then take it off whenever but they were just like, just don't worry about it. We're good. We'll still wear them. But.
That's how it was for both of our kids, actually. Like, it was a little more. It was definitely more extreme with my son Henry.
Yeah.
Where like everybody was like, no, like everybody is like double, triple masked.
But vaccines also weren't even out.
Yeah,
then.
exactly.
Yeah, so everyone was literally like, I don't want to die.
Yeah.
So. I feel like the getting pregnant during the pandemic was especially weird just because of the journey that you went on with getting pregnant in relation to the pandemic. Because you guys would have gotten pregnant like at the end of 2019 or like
it was
beginning
before.
2020.
Yeah, it was before pandemic hit. We had a very strange March that year. So we moved back to both my wife and I are from like the Nashville area. We moved back like to the house that we're in right now in East Nashville, like into 2018. We got pregnant into 2019, and we had a trip planned to go to. We had several trips planned, but most of them ended up falling apart. But I had a work trip to DC on March 3rd of 2020, and which is notable for a few things. It's my sister's birthday, which is always exciting. That's also when the tornadoes hit East Nashville, and it was also election day. And so we had like this very strange day where the night before we were like hiding in our like, you know, under our stairs basically, because the tornado landed like
within a mile of you,
within 1,000 feet of us.
Yeah.
Like the beer place down the corner from us like was like destroyed. There was like several trees in our neighborhood that were like knocked down and everything. We almost didn't go on this trip because like trauma. We were like, okay, look, like we don't know when power is coming back. So maybe we should go on this trip just so that we're not in a like, you know, house without power and everything. And we knew we were pregnant at this point. So it's like, okay, like this is probably the better option for this. We fly to DC after early voting. So we go early vote, fly to DC, and this is the week that COVID went from being like this thing that you heard about in the news that was happening in other places to by the time we came back like a week later, I think there were 2 cases in Tennessee by then, but most of it had been like those early ones like in Boston or somewhere, I think. Or and so like during this trip, like we're like, you know, we're hanging out with some of my coworkers and we're like, okay, well, there's this weird thing that's happening. We're probably fine, but maybe we shouldn't shake hands. And so you get a bunch of people who are like fairly introverted, like all in the same place. And so like social norms are kind of weird anyway, but then we're all trying to like navigate like, what are the new health things going to be? Because like you know, I work at like a media organization. So I work for Vox Media. We do online news stuff and all that. Like, and part of that like space is you know, like you have a lot of people who are like tuned into news but are also like really introverted, and so it's like we all know that there is a thing that is like maybe a big deal, but we're not sure yet because it's like super early and we all don't barely like interact with each other outside of like computer screens. And so like a lot of it is just like figuring that out. Anyway, that whole trip was just like bizarre, and then on the flight back is when like things was just like really getting real about like all the COVID stuff. And so we come back, and then like, you know, like my wife and I went from flying, you know, probably once a month, once every like 2 or 3 weeks for work stuff and all that. We haven't been on a plane since. And it's like weird.
So you still haven't been on a plane?
I still have not been on a plane since.
Oh, wow.
Since March of 2020.
Since March of 2020.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's weird. Like, you know, like I have like miles on a couple of different airlines that like are somehow still valid, but I'll get there eventually, I guess. But
you also had 2 kids in there, so like, you know, like flying away and leaving your family whenever you know you're leaving your wife at home with a less than 3-year-old is like has to be really worth it trip. And if you're already a more introverted person, you're like, man, I'm good.
Like, can I find a way not to do this?
Basically,
this would be,
I remember I actually worked that election. That was the first. I
nice.
did like machine operator stuff, and that was the first election I worked in March. So I woke up and looked at my phone, had like texts from family back home that were like, "Are you still alive?" And then like all the ones from the like state that were like, "Hey, are you like we will open an hour late. We are still on for today." And I'm just like, I don't know what happened.
I had no
I'm
idea.
very confused. I remember Nashville SC's first game as an MLS team was February 29th.
Oh, wow.
And I remember sitting there in the stadium being like, huh, this COVID thing would be really bad if it was true, because I'm around like 30,000 people right now. So I feel like now we look back and everyone has like a moment in late February, early March where they're like, I was very confident for some reason.
Right. Yeah, it's one of those where it's like nothing bad can happen to me, it's fine, and then all of a sudden everything bad happens to all the people around you, and you're like, wait a second, this is not, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
this is a thing. I should probably do something about
I
this.
remember working that election, and people did come in with gloves and face masks on, and I was
yeah.
like, "Oh, I more just assumed they must have had health issues or they were vulnerable to it." But I was like, "Oh, I wonder if that's a thing I'll see often."
Yeah.
And then next election I worked, I was in full PPE gear,
Yeah.
wearing
Yeah.
a mask and a gown the entire day, and I was like, "All right, this is this is the definition of a real thing." All right,
Well,
Man, to think, I mean, I still see pictures of back then when people would just grab whatever they could and put on, just makeshift things
Yeah.
that they did for masks,
for mask and everything. Yep.
for helmets, for like just
Face
suiting
mask and
up
all,
the
yeah.
entire thing. It was, looking back at it now, it's pretty funny seeing seeing
In
all that.
hindsight, it's like, oh man, everyone was just trying their best.
Because I remember wearing a mask, and then I bought like a whole bunch of those gaiters.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just wear those gaiters. I would wear gloves all the time.
Yeah.
I found disposable gloves and would just
Yeah, yeah.
always, and then even that, I would just slather myself with
Hand sanitizer.
hand sanitizer. We bought buckets from Old Smoky Moonshine.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they were selling those buckets.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I remember. I remember the they were doing the hand sanitizer stuff and all that. I don't think we ever got any from there, but they were definitely on my short list. Where it's just
Yeah.
like, okay, like
I think Corsair did some also.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, I mean, we have alcohol here. That's just
right.
Yeah.
It's like, what else am I gonna do with
do
this?
basically.
Yeah, like everybody shut down making alcohol to make that, and then when all the governors were like, "All right, you guys can sell alcohol," and like
To go.
go, everybody was like, "All right, let's
right,
make
never
some
mind now.
alcohol again."
Here we go. Yep.
Hand sanitizer, not so much.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, once you get the acquired taste for the hand sanitizer, it's really just as good.
It's
a little chewy, but it's fine.
I think so. I think so. My daughters got their earrings this summer.
Oh, fun.
And so, you do like rubbing alcohol on it to keep it clean and everything. And we told them at some point in time, like, yeah, be really careful. If it gets in your eyes or anything like that, it can really hurt you. And our oldest was like, what could happen? Well, I mean, like, worst case scenario is you can go blind because it's true.
Sure.
And then so for the rest of the summer, she's like, but Dad, what if I go blind because of blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, okay, no, I'm literally dipping the Q-tip in. I'm rubbing the back of your ear. Now, tell me logically, how does this get into your eyes from this? Because look at every step I just did. And she's like, I guess it can't, but what if it does? Yeah, it probably won't. What can I say to you to make you feel more confident? Because I also don't want you to go blind, and I'm running out of ways to communicate.
It's like, are you intentionally trying to go blind? Like,
Yeah,
what's-
basically, like, then she would walk around with her eyes closed a little bit, and I'm like, you're not. I just need to stop and let you just let you be you, and just leave you alone because I'm trying to be way too logical.
for sure.
Anyway, so what do you do for a living? You said you work for Vox. You work in media.
I do work in media. So technically, I'm more media adjacent at this point. So
Okay.
I work at Vox Media. I'm on the revenue team, which is responsible for all the display ads
Okay.
on the various sites on that. So I'm a manager of a team of 3 people currently.
Yeah.
And I've been doing either like software development directly or management for like not quite 20 years now. So
Nice.
yeah.
That whenever when I got out of college, I worked at News Channel 5 and digital ad space back in like 2010. I feel like they were like, this is something we should get into.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I think most of the salespeople's budget
Yeah.
is digital advertising. But how'd you get into that?
Roundabout way.
Okay.
The short version is so I went to school at MTSU and was a media design major there, which is kind of like they teach graphic designers how to write is the short version for that.
Yeah.
And I minored in computer science, and I was better at the computer science part than I was at the graphic design part, and so I ended up doing more like media-esque computer stuff.
Okay.
My first job out of college was at the Commercial Appeal in Memphis, where they hired me to be a database reporter, and ended up doing more. And by database reporter, they basically wanted somebody who could look at like large data sets and like do query stuff to it and like analyze it and that sort of thing. That didn't actually pan out. I ended up being on the website team for most of that and just like help put up interesting sites, worked with the ad people there to do some interesting stuff, but also like mainly like posted stuff to the news, to the website whenever like, you know, we were publishing out for the night. That's probably the only time I've ever actually worked directly in a newsroom. And I sort of bounced from there because that was like 2008 and lots of things.
Speaking of other big things that happened.
Right. That was not a great time to be in media.
No.
When I left that, I kind of bounced around a bunch of different stuff. I've done some consulting work for a few different places. I've done, I've worked in like magazine, like online departments for like different magazines and that in professional organizations. And then eventually ended up at Vox about 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago. So, yeah. And then when I started there, I was on the platform team. So it's still more support for like the organization and that sort of thing. It's maintaining the publishing platform Chorus for that group, and then about 6 months, or not 6 months ago because I've been on parental leave for a while, but 6 months prior to starting parental leave, I switched over to the revenue team just because it was a new and different challenge. So,
there you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, talking about parental leave, you wrote a little article about that and how you had 6 months.
No,
I'm sorry, 16 weeks.
Yeah, so for my son Henry, I had 16 weeks of parental leave, and
nice.
took it in two runs. Yeah, no, it's great. Like we did it especially because I was like during like COVID era and all of that. Like we were, my wife and I's goal was basically like, how do we stretch out like the amount of time that we have to wait to figure out like how we're going to take care of this kid.
Mm-hmm.
And so my wife ended up having about like I actually had more parental leave than my wife did, which is like pretty great and absurd in like a lot of
which is a different
ways.
discussion.
Yeah. Which I'm sure we will get to in a little bit, but it's I took a month, and then she took her parental leave, which ended up being with like vacation, that sort of stuff, about 3 months, and then I finished mine off, and so we ended up having we both were off for the first month, and then we stretched the rest of it out till probably like March the next year. So it was probably like 7-8 months of like at least one of us like watching Henry and like, you know, raising and doing all the stuff that you got to do for that. And unfortunately, COVID was still a thing at the end of all of that, and we ended up like basically like trying to figure out like job situations while like two people working full time while watching our kid, and that was a challenging time.
I mean, also it's good to remember, like, even if you're from the area, you like to have a newborn during COVID time was like, okay, what can get this kid sick? Yeah. So even if it's like your mom or your mother-in-law, like, come over and watch Henry. You're like, also, where have you been in the last week?
Yeah, exactly. My wife and I have probably been more cautious about COVID stuff than most of the people that are in like our friend and like in family groups. And it's been until we got childcare and got to the point of needing like childcare where we stopped like interrogating that like so hard, and that was like 6 months ago. I mean that was not a that has been like our existence for a while, which is like, it's weird. Like, I don't want to be the guy that's like, hey, did you go hang out at the Taylor Swift concert the other day? Because I think that's exciting and cool, but also it was you and your like 10,000 favorite friends right next to each other. And it's, it feels invasive and it feels selfish, but it's also like, I'm trying to protect my kid. So like, I don't know.
I think a lot of COVID stuff just made me realize how differently everyone defines everything.
Oh, yeah.
My definition of safety is different than your definition of safety. And in some situations, I was the relaxed one. In some situations, I was the way too cautious one.
Oh, yeah. No,
and I'm
totally.
like, cool, I feel like I have to have like a define the relationship conversation with every single friend I have.
Right.
And that was a very exhausting part of COVID I did not anticipate.
Oh, yeah. No, like, society is not built for that.
No, not so much.
It's unfortunate that we had to go through that.
Yes.
For I mean, for lots of reasons, but for that particular thing, I mean, it just like it feels like it just made like all of these relationships so straight.
Yeah, or like whenever you have a newborn, you think to yourself, like, whenever you guys got pregnant, you're probably like, oh, sweet, our moms will come over and help out. And then you are in like month 8 of having a newborn, and you're still like, hey, but mom, seriously, when you went to the grocery store, did you go Instacart or did you walk in and pick it up? Because I just want to be aware of what exposure you've had. Because if my entire family gets sick because you walked into Kroger once, I just want to know, and I'm going to be more cautious if you did.
Yeah, absolutely. And we definitely figured it out, but it was definitely
it's not fun.
Yeah.
Not fun at all.
No, totally. But yeah, so with Henry, I got 16 weeks. With my daughter Edith, between us having my son and my daughter, we have a writers union that is at Vox that like successfully negotiated an additional 4 weeks of parental leave for everybody at the company.
Nice. That's awesome.
So thank you, writers union, if anybody there is listening.
Yeah.
And we got I got 20 weeks, and it was amazing. And like I took it all in a single shot, and I just started last week, and it's like it has been really great being able to be a very active part of my daughter's life for the first 5 months, versus like, hey kid, whatever, I'm gonna go on this random Zoom call.
Yeah, basically.
I had 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I definitely wish I could have had at least 6 more weeks.
Yeah.
Because during that, I mean, after the 2 weeks was up, and me having to juggle as a new parent, something that was totally upending like what I thought was normal, and then having to deal with work as well. It was too much for me, for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that a lot of other dads out there probably that have that same situation or don't even have 2 weeks, they probably get stressed out.
Yeah.
Immensely.
I'm really sorry that was hard for you. I mean, like that, like I hear that, I see that, like it being a new dad is hard.
Yeah.
And there's just like, there's so much to it that you just don't really know until you get into it, which sounds super cliche until it isn't. It's just,
you have no idea.
You don't. And there's no there's no prep for it. Like even whenever your wife, you had to deliver almost 4 weeks early, it's like, oh, this wasn't our plan. So what do you do? You figure it out.
Right.
And what do you do with that? Probably have some stress and trauma. I don't know.
It's like, neat. This is great. I mean, I think it's a real shame that like, as a country, we have like decided / collectively landed into this place where we think that like this is okay. We are the only industrialized country in the world that doesn't do paid parental leave, like at all, like as a requirement. Like there are different like organizations that, I was lucky that I work at a place that does paid parental leave. But like most people don't work at places like that.
Nope.
And that's that's negligent. That's like inhumane, in my opinion. Like I think it's like it is something that benefits us all as a society to have parents going and raising their kids. Like we talk about like family value as a thing. We talk about it as like this is something that is important to us, but we don't support it in any real way that is useful.
And hammered in our heads that work.
Yeah, and it's like a it's a thing where it's like especially as guys, like I don't know what kinds of environments y'all were raised in, but like I was raised in an environment that was basically like you have to go and you have to like fit these specific gender roles. Like you've got to go provide for a family. You've got to go like the ideal version of this is like I don't think it was quite like the 50s nuclear family type of thing, but it wasn't too far off. It's like, okay, like like the ideal version of this is you go and you like work somewhere for an absurd amount of time during the day. You come home and like your family does all the stuff for you because you were off working and all that, and you end up just being like this like disengaged dude. And it's like that's absurd. Like it means that you're like it makes your family like a token. It doesn't make it a like an actual like people that you engage with. It's like, it's like I have a nice car and I have a nice fence and I have this family that like I occasionally see, and it's like
there's not a lot of depth there.
No, it's not.
And I think there's I feel like for men, I think men actually have a lot of emotional depth to them. I think culturally we haven't, like, the bar for men is pretty low.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, did you remember your daughter's name? Yes. Man, you must be a great dad.
Right.
And you're like, okay, cool. But, like, I think there actually is, I was thinking of, like, I think most men would be willing to cook. It's just that, like, it's not the most helpful thing they can do for their family in a lot of situations.
Sure.
Justin, I know you don't do most of the cooking at your house, but if Haley was like, hey, can you cook a couple meals? You'd figure out how to cook a couple meals.
Yeah.
It's just like culturally, societally, what if we said this is the best way for you to help your family, and then you go and do it? So I'm very much a beta male more than an alpha male.
Sure.
And yeah, growing up and being around, like, anyone who's an alpha male gets more praise than someone who's a beta male. So you sit there and you're like, oh, well, I must not be as valuable to the room because I'm not taking charge in every scenario. I'm just kind of hanging back and seeing how it flows. It's fun.
No, I mean, it's definitely a thing. You have like these expectations that, like, I don't know if I ever had anybody like directly say like, you have to go do this. Like, this is like what life is supposed to be for you. But it's in the air enough that it's it's just hard to escape.
Yep.
And it's really unfortunate.
Yeah. No, I'm a stay-at-home dad and had to have the moment of realization of, like, Devin, your wife makes 3 times what you make. You're paying for daycare. That's what your job is doing.
Right.
What are you doing? Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
But, like, what was in my head? Oh, there's probably something I could do to get a raise in which I'm the one who makes more money. And it must be something I'm not doing correctly.
Yeah.
That's the reason why. And it's like, no, it's just how things shook out. Your wife found a job that paid more than yours. So
Great.
do what's best for your family.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, cool.
He got the golden ticket.
Got the golden ticket.
Awesome.
If I could have it my way, that's what I would do too.
Yeah, but also when you went back to work, your job is extremely stressful. You manage a lot. You help out with properties. You do, like, whenever you go through the list of what you accomplish in your day, I'm like, yeah, man, I feel stressed just listening to you say what you do in your day. So do you go from, like, sleep deprivation, not, like, being like, what's the best way to help my family, to, like, by the way, now all those needs from your job are still here.
Yeah.
And your core identity has changed. That's not a casual thing.
Yeah, it was I feel like I am doing a horrible job at work and a horrible job being a dad and being a husband.
Yeah.
Because I was checked out of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was so much.
Yeah, and after a while, and I'm one of those guys that I was fighting the urge to get help or just even saying that I want or need it. But after a while, Haley was just like, you need it.
Yeah.
And she was like, or something's going to have to change. And that was when I was like, okay, I'll get help, and it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
Setting the ego aside.
Yep. But I do always wonder, because, whenever we had our first kid, my paternal leave was 2 weeks paid. And that was mostly because the company I worked at, we had to, like, go to the owner and be like, hey, by the way, like, I'm the first male employee we've ever had who's become a father. Can you have paternal leave? And she was like, oh, why? Like, why? Tell me the benefits of it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Here are all the benefits. And, had a conversation about it. Worked out fine. But, like, there are still companies out there where, like, they haven't had a man become a father and ask for paternal leave. So they have to create a new policy. They've got, like, going through all the HR of that, they do have to make sure they're consistent with what they do.
Right.
And most companies don't want to set a policy unless they're positive of what they're doing, because then it's the standard going forward.
Yeah.
So,
No, totally.
Yeah.
And I wish federally there's something that could have helped out with that.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
they did the best they could.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
If they allocated funds
Yeah.
better than what they do now.
Pretty much. But
Our
anyway.
sorry.
I mean, I
Our
think
taxes could be doing
Our
something
taxes.
better.
I mean, I think there are things. I am a big believer of working within the space that you can control, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, the three of us aren't going to convince the federal government to do something.
Oh, come
right
on.
now. I know, right?
No.
I mean, like,
But you said you just went to D.C. I thought you had friends there.
not like that.
Oh.
But I mean, I think there are things that you can do at a more local level. Like, for example, in DC, speaking of DC, the actual city itself has a mandated 16 weeks of parental leave, which is
What?
how I ended up with 16 weeks in the first place.
Yeah.
Because that's the standard there in the company. I was based in, like, if you're a company based in Washington D.C. and your employees are working out of there, then you've got to do 16 weeks of parental leave.
Does the city help each company, or is it just?
I don't know how that works.
Okay.
So that is a great follow-up question. I don't know the answer to that. But I think the usual caveats apply to it in terms of, so federally, I was researching this earlier because I wanted to make sure that I didn't sound too dumb when I was talking through this.
Right.
But like, if you are a company of 50 people or fewer, like, none of this applies to you.
Yes.
Basically, it's just like, look, if you're a small company, like, you're trying to be a company, so
Yeah.
like, go do that.
You're
And
going to
then-
do the best you can for your employees, and good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully you're doing the best you can for your employees.
Hopefully.
But yeah, I mean, most of these protections don't really apply for anybody unless you're like a larger than like a 50-person company.
Gotcha.
So at that point, like, I do think that, like, what I would love to see happen in a more, especially since we're in, like, this space right now where, like, at the time of this recording, we're about to go through a mayoral runoff and that sort of thing. I don't think this podcast is going to run at any point that this will matter, but
Maybe not. We'll see. Maybe I'll bump it up 1 week so I can get out there.
but, like, I would love to see, like, the city put funds towards that. I mean, like, there's no reason why the city couldn't say, you know what, like, childcare is tough right now, and parental leave is a tough thing right now.
Well,
Let's
Freddie
find
talked
ways
about childcare.
He did a lot
Yeah.
for that episode, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I think, like, putting our money where our mouth is and saying, like, this is a thing that's important to us and we're going to take steps to make it happen, I think is really important.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, if we had childcare that was either affordable or free, people would actually be able to show up for work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people have to take off work because they're sick as kids because there's nothing else for them
Correct.
to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then that person is,
Then productivity,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it
So-
ripples pretty intensely.
yes, it does. I mean, I have about 100 people
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
working
yeah.
under me. Out of those 100 people, somebody seems to always be having a kid.
Oh,
If
sure.
you had less than 10 people with a sick kid in a week, I'd be surprised.
Oh,
like,
man.
Yeah.
It is, I would say on a daily basis, one person's out either because they're sick from their kid or their kid is sick.
Yeah, because it's
Sure.
just
At
the
least that's
reality
what
of
it
kids.
feels like.
Yeah, I mean, kids get around each other, they spread whatever, and it just, it's a slurry.
Yep.
And it's just
so
fun.
having free daycare would allow him to say, okay, dropping my kid off and going to work
Yep.
and
Yeah.
be so much easier.
Yep.
And I'm sure that those benefits would far outweigh the cost.
Yeah.
You would think so. No, it's I had a friend who works at Dell, and I think Dell gives like 20 weeks for paternity leave.
Nice.
And like, yeah, I think there's the time when she was like, "Oh, do I stay here? Do I not stay here? Oh, my wife is pregnant. I'm definitely staying here
Yeah.
because it's one reason we all living in Tennessee is the lack of state taxes, right?
Yeah.
So like, whenever you have a city, whenever you have an organization, you create incentives for people to move there.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a great incentive. I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like, I don't think until you have a kid, like the amount of work that your wife's body does to birth a kid also,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
it's also
totally.
almost like cruel to them to be like, all right, it's been 2 weeks, I'm
See ya.
out. You basically
Yeah.
just got into like the biggest medical like scenario you can possibly get into, and now you have to keep a child alive. I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have fun. It's
Have
great.
fun.
Yeah.
See you
We
later.
were so stubborn too that I don't think we had our parents come help us for a good solid month. It felt like
Oh, yeah.
we were too stubborn. Now we're like, our parents are coming immediately.
But also that first month of newbornness, like I think also how much you have to learn how to communicate with your wife or partner differently is
Yeah.
also something you cannot predict. Because like I know we've discussed this before, but like sleep deprivation, you can't like you don't know what you're into until you're there. And it's not like the first week. It's like when you're in week 3 of both of you doing 4 hours of sleep for 3 weeks
Yeah.
in a row, and then you're trying to be kind to each other, and you're just like, no, I don't want to rewash this bottle. I'm good. I'm done.
I mean, I've had sleep deprivation from in college, like working on long projects and trying to make sure I get them done before
Sure.
deadlines. But all I had to worry about is just sometimes just showing up to a class and not even really
Turning it
partaking.
in.
But now I have to show up and be responsible for this little baby.
Yeah.
You can't just you can't F off.
You
Yeah.
can't, and it's also like, okay, so how tense my body is changing this child's energy now. So
Yeah.
like, it's also like my body's tense because I haven't slept, and this kid's crying harder, which makes my body more tense. And everyone's like, well, just calm down. I'm like, sure,
Right.
because I want to be in this state right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes all the difference between like I've had off and on insomnia, and so like sleep deprivation by itself is not a new thing.
Yeah.
But sleep deprivation when you're responsible for somebody beside yourself is a very, very different thing, and it's just like, okay, like how do I deal with this, and like what do you do? You know?
Yeah. But I do think it's parental leave is really cool that it is now becoming. I feel like more people our age are like, oh no, like if this is a political platform now.
Yeah.
Like people are starting to care about it and realize about it. So hopefully, our kids, whenever they start having kids, it's not actually a conversation. It's just something that's part of reality.
Yeah, here's hoping. I mean, I think it's, both like the gender difference and, people expect moms to do like some sort of parental leave because like, again, like major medical thing and like all the like stuff that comes with being a mom, in terms of like, just like expectations of like, oh, you're raising the kid, you're doing this and all of that. Like even they're getting screwed both by like not like by parental leave, but not being like a more equal gendered thing because like, again, like their identity is getting completely ripped up, in ways that they may or may not completely choose. That's like really unfortunate. But then like they're not getting enough either. I mean, like, if parental like FMLA right now I think does like 12 weeks, and 12 weeks is good, but most people don't take that full amount because it's not guaranteed to be paid.
Correct.
So for a lot of people, like, yeah, sure, like I'm, like I could, I may have like a 9 to 5 somewhere, that's like that guarantee, because like I have federal protections for 12 like weeks where my job is protected. But if you're not getting paid, like, and you don't have savings, and you're like, you're not gonna like take that whole amount.
Nope.
And so like, people are caught in these like really like just like nasty situations where like, like, I mean, people have been figuring this out for a long time, but we don't have to do that. Like we're a society that is like so stupidly rich right now. We are choosing to do this. Maybe not like actively on an individual level, but as a society, we are actively choosing this. And it's so dumb. And it's just like, it is frustrating.
Yes, and it's sad because a lot of it's just because of inertia.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we've never
totally.
needed it before. And it's like, oh, well, now we do. It's like, oh, but we never needed it before. All right, so now we just need what data point do you need to convince you that this is what we need?
Tell me about seatbelt laws. Like,
Yeah,
like we didn't need
basically.
seatbelts before, but all of a sudden,
But yeah, that's I think I'm glad you know that detail about FMLA, that you are guaranteed, that some people you're guaranteed 12 weeks off before your job can fire you legally for that. It's not saying you have 12 weeks off paid, half paid, or anything like that. It's just saying legally there's a federal protection. You will not get fired in these 12 weeks.
Yeah.
What you do in those 12 weeks, not up to us.
And that's bundled with several other things too. It's not just like, like I have a kid or whatever. It's if you get sick. Recently it's changed where, because of COVID, like if you're caretaking for someone else who is sick, like that's a recent change to that law, which I think is a great improvement to it. But that's all like 12 weeks in a single year. So like if you're having like a really lousy year,
Good luck.
Yeah, I hope you are a really valued person at your organization because otherwise, like,
There's no guarantee for you.
Exactly.
Yep. So yeah.
Yeah, Haley had 3 months paid,
Nice.
Great.
and
That's
then
awesome.
she was allowed to take another 4 weeks, but it would be either half pay or no pay. I can't remember exactly, but she took it all.
That's awesome.
Good.
Yeah, and then her work also does it where she has sick days for herself, and then sick days for other family members.
Yeah.
So if
Seriously?
so if Ada is sick, she can take off, and it doesn't go against her sick days.
That's a good HR team.
yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Well,
There's like
I mean,
a distinction.
it's News Corp, like one of the biggest
Yeah.
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 But that also then speaks to that, unless you're a massive organization.
Yeah, you're
like
not going to
that,
be able to afford
you won't be able
that.
to afford it.
No.
And I wish that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Because that's an incentive for Haley to stay at that
Oh,
job.
yeah. That's
Totally.
one
Because
of the
other
main
companies
reasons why
won't do that.
Yeah. And her health insurance is
Yeah.
impeccable, too. Like mine, because it's a small company,
Yeah.
the insurance premium's high
Yeah.
and coverage not that good.
Yeah,
But-
because you're a small company.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hers, super cheap,
Yep.
and it covers everything.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
we could talk about health benefits and everything. I'm going to make you talk about the baking notification
Sounds
because
good.
I'm sure your wife is listening and it's like, why haven't you talked about more baked goods on this
Sure.
podcast yet? So tell us about the baking notification.
Yeah, so the baking
Project.
notification, baking notification project is we just hit our 2-year anniversary of the initial prototype, which is super exciting. But it is it's a platform that my wife came up with. That's basically like a way for home bakers to share extra baked goods with their community, and like their neighbors, their friends, their family, that sort of thing. The way that it works is that a baker, like a home baker, I actually picked up a cinnamon roll from one of our bakers today,
awesome.
and haven't had a chance to eat it yet, but I'm sure it will be a delicious breakfast tomorrow.
Yes.
And it's when a baker has made something, and like either they're doing it intentionally for the project, or they're just like making because like they enjoy baking, because that's what bakers do, and they have some extra, they go to our app and they say, hey, people who have subscribed to me, I have like 5 cinnamon rolls, who wants one? Automatic text goes out to everybody. Subscribers can say, oh, I want one, so they can claim it, and then they show up at the person's house like a few hours later, and they get to pick up their cinnamon roll or whatever the person happens to be baking that day. And it's pretty great. We currently have 28 bakers across, I think it's 9 states right now.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And they, it's a really fun community at the moment.
Yeah.
And we're about to launch. So we've been in like the Google beta preview, basically. So not actually anything associated with Google, but like how like Gmail was in beta for like longer than like it needed to like legally drink in the country. Like it was just, but like we were in like perpetual beta for a while, but we're about to open up our baker sign up form for like anybody who is interested in the process in the next like week or so, and we're like super excited about that because we're hoping to just like kind of expand out the community of bakers that we're working with a little bit, and just to get people a chance to try it out. So
Did you do all the did you program the app? Did you make all the computer aspect of it?
yes,
Computer
so
aspect of it?
I'm the technical co-founder, which
Sweet.
basically means that I get to be the one who types all the things and
Yes.
does all of the customer support.
Oh, really?
Stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's been fun. The initial prototype was like Airtable, and which is like a SaaS open, or it's not open source, but it's like a SaaS like open database spreadsheety thing. And
So all of these things are the things that are
different
available?
different
Oh,
bakers
man.
are so Jessica runs the so for people who are just listening, we're pulling up the Baking Notification Project Instagram right now on a computer screen that is up. That's very cool looking, and I appreciate y'all putting it up there.
If only we did video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Accessibility is
there.
important,
One
y'all,
day.
but it's but yeah, no, the so we're looking at the Instagram for it right now, and so Jessica runs our Instagram, my wife Jessica, and she basically posts a weekly roundup every week of like stuff that people have baked over the course of the week, and so this is basically like what a whole bunch of different people have baked.
Is that a lemon bar?
That looks like a lemon bar. I'm not sure if that's a lemon bar.
We clicked on it, it'd probably say.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Touche.
Let's see.
Or it doesn't.
Or it doesn't. Or you could scroll down the
Da-da-da.
text.
Yeah.
But I
it
feel like
still
yeah.
doesn't.
I remember.
Yeah, it doesn't. She links out to all the different bakers.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you could track down that photo to the original baker.
I love
but-
a good lemon bar.
You love
Oh,
a
yeah.
good lemon bar?
Oh yeah.
Have you ever made your own lemon curd before?
No.
It's pretty fun. It's a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am also a big fan of lemon desserts.
Oh, there we go. There's our common thread besides being dads. Is lemon
Exactly.
dessert love. So
Yeah,
I
about
would have made
key-
you
what
a
about key lime
lemon related
pie?
dessert then. Oh.
No, the beer bread is great.
Okay,
It is quite tasty. But yeah, no. So yeah, I mean, like what else is there to say about this? I mean, it's pretty cool that. Oh, that's our daughter on the screen.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, she's a
We
cutie.
really need to do video.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen. We'll figure it
Because
out
she is
later.
very cute.
For the
Okay.
journalism nerds listening to this, the pivot to video here is not great. Please don't do that. But yeah, no, it's no, she's a cutie. We like her.
You'll keep her?
We'll
We'll keep her for a little bit longer.
yeah. You know, we'll give her a few more weeks at
Few more
least.
weeks.
There you go.
Yeah,
awesome.
That's a good
that's
pick.
us in the sun.
I feel like I remember like stumbling, like 2 years ago, stumbling across your Instagram and being like, that's a really cool idea. Because, you
Yeah.
know, clearly I bake a lot. I was like, oh, that would make a ton of sense. Yeah, if I made like a bunch of muffins for something and then I had like 5 extra. And I'm like, well, these will just, I'll throw away like in a week from now. Or I can send out a text to like 5 people and they'll come pick them up.
My favorite thing. So my wife is all so like hair club for men style, like, you know, president and client. My wife is also a baker on the platform. My favorite thing that she makes on the platform. All of her stuff is delicious, and I'm not just saying that because she's going to listen to this later.
Yeah,
All of
yeah.
it is amazing. But my favorite thing that she makes is particularly good blueberry box muffins.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a box set,
Yeah.
it's a box muffin kit that she dresses up and puts like extra blueberries in, does like
Yeah.
a crumble on top, and like they're fantastic. But the thing that I love about it is that like we go all in on that as like, oh yeah, no, this is just box muffins. It's great.
Yeah, it's weird. We found it at Walmart.
Basically, yeah, and it's they're legit. They're so good, and they always go out. And I always get mad at all the subscribers who like take all the stuff and
You're
I
like,
have to.
that person canceled, right? They didn't
Yeah.
show up, right? They said they'd be here and they weren't, right?
Yeah, the feature that I keep joking about putting in is the baker's husband dozen, which is it miscounts it by 1.
Yeah.
So that there's always at least one left over.
We always call that taxes at our house. Because, I feel like when I made Jordan with these tasty snickerdoodles, I was like, hey, man, at least 5 of these went to my family. I know I showed a picture that had about 20, and there's only like 14 here. One of them was me.
I maybe took one as well. I can't
Maybe.
remember.
You know.
Listen, I can barely count. I don't know what the problem is. It's
1,
I don't
3, 5.
no, I mean, what's cool about it is that so as a baker on the platform, the commitment is 2 bakes a month, and that's where most bakers end up landing for that. So it's not like you're getting like a bake. We do have one baker who like is like amazing that does like 5 or 6 a month, and if she were in West Nashville, I would probably also be subscribed to her, but that's too far of a drive.
Is
for me to
that
go.
Carrie?
That is Carrie. Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah, Carrie's awesome.
She is.
And hi, Carrie.
Hi, Carrie.
And but yeah, like most of the bakers will do like 2 or 3 bakes a month, and these are usually like single serving portions. And so if you're in the situation that most of the subscribers are, where you're sharing with like a significant other or a couple of kids or whoever, it's actually not that many calories when it like boils down to it. That being said, it is more baked goods than you would have had not being subscribed to it. So, you know, your mileage may vary.
Yes. I mean, one thing I definitely believe in, and Justin will say is the real basis of our friendship, is baked goods is like one of the best sources of community you can possibly have. Like, that's honestly why I bake for all of our guests, is because I feel like it is like an added touch of intentionality. And like, hey, man, I was thinking of you. I made something that hope you think is fun. And then hopefully you think about it later. I make pumpkin cookies that Justin is obsessed with. It is probably the real basis of our friendship.
No, it is. No lie.
I bet you won't eat them anymore now that you're on a diet.
No, I
so-
will. I have to eat that.
Yes. But, you know, it is this really cool thing of, I applaud you guys for doing that, especially because I do think food is one of the great connectors that can exist. And baked goods especially make you view, like, I will drive across the river to get hi-fi cookies because Sean is a good guy and he makes really good cookies. Or we live close to like Baked on 8th. So like Baked on 8th also does a good cookie. but I know Sean, so I'm gonna drive over there and get his cookies.
So we have that in common because I live right next to Hi-Fi Cookies, and
that'd be
I eat there.
dangerous.
Oh,
And
man.
I get their stuff every now and then, but I also drive across town to Baked on 8th because they make delicious cakes.
They make delicious
So-
cakes, very pretty cakes. Too.
Oh yeah, no, like it's like I like their yellow cake with chocolate icing because I'm like super basic, but it is so good.
Yeah.
And they always look great, and it's awesome. They also have really good lemon bars if you're ever in that space too.
I do think if you can do something that is basic or simple and do it in a way that it stands out, it actually does speak to how talented you are at doing something.
For sure. I have a standard order that I get at like sandwich shops. It's a Reuben.
Yeah.
And a Reuben is just complex enough that like if you have it on your menu, I expect it to be good enough, but it's not like so crazy. Like basically, like I want to make sure that you know like what's the proper ratio of like corned beef hash and sauerkraut. That the sauerkraut is not like poisonous. That like those kinds of things. And so like if you can do a Reuben, I can assume that like most of the things on your menu is fine.
Yeah.
Like.
Reubens have a lot of very strong flavors and a lot of moisture to them. In which, if you go heavy on one thing or not, that's the entire sandwich is whatever you want a little heavy on. So yeah, if you trust them to balance a Reuben, then you can trust them with anything.
Exactly.
I understand you.
Nice. Do you have a standard?
I actually don't. No, because I'm just happy to eat any food.
That's fair.
It just has to taste good.
That's fair.
Yeah, I feel like I take a bite and I'm like, yeah, what were you trying to do here? And then just try to figure it out, figure out the highlights, figure out the lowlights. Actually, I like King Tut's a lot, which
Nice.
I'm pretty sure you guys eat
Yeah.
King Tut's also. Their sauce, it's like an Egyptian Mediterranean place on Nolensville, so it's between our house and the zoo. So it's literally like if
okay.
you're driving to the zoo, you're driving south on Nolensville, it's on the left. It's literally like a permanently stationed food truck.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
does like
They're
gyros.
super friendly.
And it is, yes, they're super nice. They're usually open for lunch. On the weekends, they're open for dinner also.
King Tut's. Okay.
But their sauce ratio and their sauce flavoring for everything and their coloration is just beautiful. It's just like every bite is really good. It is literally like the best gyro in town.
Kind of like that when it comes to lasagna
Oh, really?
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
or some type of pasta. It has to have the right sauce, meat,
Yeah, there's a ratio.
pasta,
yeah, totally.
and cheese.
Yeah.
If they go too heavy on the cheese, I'm out.
Yeah, then then it's just like too rich and too thick. But if you go too heavy on the sauce, I can't taste the cheese. So.
Sure.
Yep.
Just
So,
asking for
lasagna.
heartburn at that point. And
Basically,
Lasagna or
yeah.
pasta. I make a great baked cavatelli.
Oh,
What's
nice.
a baked cavatelli? What goes into that?
Well, we're having you over for,
It's
for
what's
dinner
yay,
Hooray.
It's our
I think
dinner next week.
next week.
I think
so
next Saturday.
maybe
yeah.
I'll make that.
Yes.
But it's
wait.
basically like a lasagna, just a little bit different.
Cool.
It has chunks of Italian sausage in it, and the shell it's a cavatelli shell,
Okay.
a little bit more dense, but really good.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it. I used to cook a lot.
Did you really? I mean, you worked at Bread and Company, or was it Bread,
Bread
and
and
Company?
Company
Yeah.
and in Jersey Mike's, but
Yeah.
that was the one thing that me and Haley really bonded over was food, and then also cooking.
Oh, really?
We did the HelloFresh, and then there was another one that we did. There's
Yeah.
Yeah.
mail-in things, and then we would take those recipes and then kind of make them our own.
That's cool.
Nice.
But yeah, but once we had Ada, she was the person that
Yeah,
that made
that's
a
how it
lot of
worked
the
out.
meals, so I would just play with her. I'd
That's cool.
play blocks and keep her busy while Haley is cooking.
Yeah.
But yeah, food, it
Yeah.
really does create a bond.
It
For
does.
sure. And
Brandon, do you do cooking at your house?
Jessica's the better cook,
Okay.
but I do have things that I do.
Okay.
And so like we're probably like a 30-70 split,
Yeah.
20-80 depending on like the week and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Things that I do well, I do a lot of special occasion meals.
Okay.
And so like I do a mean fish fry.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which is good. I haven't scaled that yet, so it's usually for like
Yeah.
the core family. I haven't done like a larger one, but I could probably do that. We made cannolis jointly the other day,
yeah.
so that was.
And
that
you
was
guys
good.
made your shells, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's cool.
Yeah, so like I'm the fryer, and then like Jessica does all the the
Finesse.
actual hard stuff.
Yeah.
I just try to avoid getting burnt by hot oil, and it's
Yep.
great. You'll see a running thread here. I also do pretty good fried chicken.
Yeah.
So like
Fried.
yeah, so I don't mean to just say like I only fry things, because I'm pretty sure I make stuff that is not fried, but I'm
Yes.
drawing a blank on what I make that isn't fried. So
When I make fried chicken, my favorite thing to do with it is to overnight marinate it in buttermilk.
oh nice,
And
yeah.
that way you don't do any of like the egg wash and everything. You just kind of, it's just ready to go. You put it in the flour mixture or whatever, and then you toss it in the grease.
Nice.
That it also like, because the buttermilk it like tenderizes and flavors it because it's fat and acid at the same time. So if
Nice.
you just want to mix it up a little bit, try marinating buttermilk beforehand, and it is delicious.
Yeah, the one that I do, I don't marinate it overnight. I'll have to try that.
Yeah.
There's a there's a cookbook that we have that has like a lot of really the name escapes me, and I can send you a link later
Yeah,
if
yeah.
we want show notes kinds of things. But it's but it's like a science of food cookbook, and the guy has like, here is how to do like the best fried chicken. Here's like 30 different ways I
Yeah.
tried to do it, and they're all good, but this is the best fried chicken.
Yes.
And and it's a buttermilk brine that you do for a little bit, but
Yes.
I think it's only, I think that particular recipe is only like 4 or 8 hours or something like that. But yeah, no, the overnight sounds right as like an
Yes.
interesting thing, as a way of like continuing to like tenderize and all that.
Is it like the Food Lab? Is it that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it like Kenji Lopez Alt?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
it. That's a great cookbook.
I think I've also read through that because he does a lot on sweet potatoes. Where it's like, hey, because with potatoes, if you like put them in water, it lets all the starch come out of them. If you salt it at the same time, it changes the seasoning of it. And he has like a whole chapter on like, if you bake sweet potatoes at 350 for this amount of time, here's the sweetness that comes out of them. If you do, like, he goes full science on all of it. And I feel like I remember reading through that cookbook and being like, I want to do all of this, but I have no time to try any of it.
My favorite illustration out of that cookbook is a picture of him hard boiling eggs at 30-second intervals.
Yes.
And so it's like a grid. And like, if you want to catch my attention, do a data visualization of anything. and so
awesome.
it's just like, okay, here is a food grid.
Yeah.
and so basically there's like a like from like 30 seconds to like 10 minutes of like, this is what a hard boiled egg looks like if you do it at like 30-second intervals for it. So like the first ones are like runny, like they're barely touched. So it's just like, this is a raw egg. And then like it slowly gets to be more like a hard boiled egg, and then eventually it starts like looking like rotten because it's been overboiled.
Yep.
And like by the end of it, it just looks kind of disgusting in the other direction.
Yes.
But it's such a cool like visual of like, it's a time series.
Yeah.
But it's art.
Yeah,
And
it
it's
really
it's
is.
both, and it's just
Yeah.
like, this is great, and I love it. So
I
Chris-
am a
yeah.
hard-boiled egg snob.
Are you
Yeah.
really?
Yep. So Haley tries her best to make hard-boiled eggs for me, but
Yeah.
they're not done enough.
do you have a method?
It just, I don't know. I can't even do it. But
Okay.
my mom,
Your mom
My
set
mom
the
is the
standard
one.
for it. Yeah.
it's a little bit more cooked and drier in the middle. That's what I like.
Okay.
But if it has any bit of an undercooked or runniness or almost gel-like,
Yeah.
then I'm done. Can't do it.
I use my mother-in-law's method for hard-boiled eggs, which is to throw the eggs in when the water is boiling. You have just enough water to cover whatever eggs you have, and you let the water completely boil off.
Oh, okay.
I am like awful about timing for anything, so like telling me to like do a timer for this,
Yeah.
it's just it's no bueno. Like, it just doesn't work. Like, it's just but if by doing it like this, where it's like, okay, like I'm just like waiting for something to get done
Yeah.
and go do something else. I've only ruined a pan once, but it was salvageable because like you can burn out the bottom of a pan
Yeah.
doing that. But you just let it boil all the way down, and they come out pretty consistent. Like, I don't know if it's gonna pass like the texture
Yeah.
thing. Like, I'm not super picky about hard boiled eggs, but
Gotcha.
I love like anything that's easy. So it's like, okay, this is like a very easy thing I can do, and I never ruin it by having
I'll
it
try
runny.
that.
I've done air fryer hard-boiled eggs before.
Oh, nice.
So you just put them in there. I think of like 350 for like 15 minutes. Then you put them in an ice bath. And then like from there you can know like, all right, if I do this for an extra minute, here's the consistency if I do it for less. So I've done
Took a lot of practice.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, that's the. I feel like with cooking, you just got to be kind to yourself. Oh man, I did this wrong. Okay, cool. If I'd have like just made it a minute longer, I feel like cooking hamburgers is like cool. If I would have taken this off the grill a minute earlier, it would have been medium. I took it off a minute later. Now it's well done.
Yeah.
Cool. So if I just next time just pay a little bit more, set a timer on your watch, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
So, I'm a really big Christina Tossi fan. She does like Milk Bar.
Nice.
And I have like 2 or 3 of her cookbooks. And in one of them, it goes through the progression of cookies like that. Where like, yeah, if you do it underbaked, here's how soft it looks. If you do it overbaked, here's how browned all the edges are. So you just like, yeah, you look at it and you're like, oh man, like a minute or 2 here and there makes all the difference in a good meal, basically.
Totally.
Justin, we can avoid you falling asleep in this interview.
Yes.
Should we start putting the interview or conversation?
Yes.
Are these interviews or conversations? I guess they're more conversations.
They're conversations.
But we
because
make
we're
the
not-
person talk more than us if we're lucky. So
Yes.
I mean, that is the definition of an interview. Though,
yeah.
right? It's
So I
like-
mean,
talky.
talky,
All right.
talky. Hey,
Um,
does he know how we enter it?
I
mean,
don't
you
know.
I
got
do
you
know.
got you got to do the full intro, Justin. You can't just jump into the first question. God.
I'm so sorry.
Hey, Brandon. Here's the official intro.
Hello,
How we
fellow
end all of our
humans.
episodes is by asking the same 5 questions and then annoying Justin by only asking the same 5 questions every single time.
Nice.
Justin.
Because I think every episode after these, I'm like, maybe we should change them up a little bit.
And I'm like, nope, I'm going to keep
Yeah.
it going more just to annoy you
So.
than anything else.
All
Justin, do
right.
you want to ask the first one?
Sure. All right. Did you have any backup names for your both your kids?
Yes. So Henry, we had toyed. I'm a huge Queen fan, and we had toyed. If we're going to talk about music at some
Yeah.
point in this,
Here we go.
here it is. We had toyed with the idea of having his middle name as Freddie for a little
There you
bit.
go.
Yeah.
And that's not off the table for potential other kids. So
Nice.
Okay.
we'll see what happens. But
What about for your daughter? Did you have any backup names for her?
we had a list. Her name was always going to be Edie.
Okay.
She's named after her her grandfather who passed away a few years ago. So like that was never going to change.
Okay.
But Eddie was his name.
Okay.
And, but we toyed with a bunch of different middle names, and I'm drawing a blank on any of the specific
Okay.
ones.
It's all
but,
good.
Yeah.
That's right. Sometimes people forget their kids' middle names.
Right. I don't know my kids. I know my kid's current middle name, but Jordan. No.
Jordan.
Dick.
Something. Next question. Favorite TV dad?
You're never gonna let that down, are you?
No, I will not. One of our very early episodes, Justin forgot the middle name of his kid, and his wife in the other room was like, Justin!
It's okay. The other day, I was so daughter is 4 months old.
Yeah.
And I'm playing with her and that sort of thing. And I definitely had like a mental like, what is your middle name? What is that?
Yeah.
So I hear that. It's fine.
Appreciate it.
It's a more common thing. I'm just
Yeah.
a jerk.
It's all
Anyway,
good.
who's your
Favorite
favorite TV dad?
My favorite TV dad. I think so this is the one that I prepared for.
I like that you knew the questions.
You know
before.
what?
Yeah.
It's because
That's
if you keep
awesome.
it the same, it helps, Justin.
Exactly.
guess.
Exactly. No.
Why not throw a curveball in there every once in a while, though?
We will
So,
sometime.
favorite TV dad to aspire to, I think, is Hank Hill.
Yes.
So, like, Hank
Okay.
Hill has his problems. He's like repressed. He like has like a weird fetish for propane, but
And
he
propane
he
products.
does and propane accessories. But he cares about his kids, and he's super handy. And like as somebody who's gotten into woodworking during pandemic, like is definitely like a role model in that space.
Yeah.
I think the other TV dad that I particularly enjoy more as like a dad role model is Benjamin Sisko, who is the captain on Deep Space Nine.
Okay.
Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So surprise, I'm a Trekkie, and and so one of the things that I really appreciate about him as a dad is that his character arc starts with like tragedy, like his wife dies in a battle, and like he's like a single dad throughout the course of his show, and so he's raising like his like early in the show, his son Jake is like early teens, like 13, 14, and like grows up through the course of the show, and like, you know, he balances like all the crazy Star Trek stuff that happens with like being there with his kid.
Yeah.
And does a really great job of it. Overall, I mean, they're like any good TV character, he has his flaws and that sort of thing. But I think like as a father, like the thing that really comes across is that he tries really hard to be there for his son. And like even when he doesn't do it well, and he fails, he picks himself back up and does it again.
Yeah.
So
Like,
I
at
really
least he
appreciate
tries.
that.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Least favorite kids show or movie?
My least favorite kid show is so the two answers for that. One is one that my son does actually watch, which is a show on Netflix called Number Blocks.
Okay.
I heard of it.
It's I think it's a British import because everybody has very British accents. It's basically a bunch of numbers that are like, so it's, I mean, it's hard to explain it without using the word number blocks. The characters are blocks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and later seasons add 6 through 10, and they like kind of transform into each other. So like where like 2 ones will get together and they turn into a 2.
Okay.
And then I can respect it as a show for like teaching math, because like my son, who is about to turn 3, knows like basic addition because of this show, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But it is the most annoying theme song ever, and I will not sing it here, but it is awful. 1 and the number 1 is 2. No, we're not doing that. So don't do that. And then we also have like a whole class of like kid shows that we refuse to just like show up in the house.
Yes.
We don't do Paw Patrol.
Okay.
We don't do Coco Melon.
Yeah.
And there's like 2 or 3 others like kind of in that vein.
Yeah.
We don't do most like we're on Disney Plus, but we try really hard to avoid anything that was made between like 95 and like 2010.
Okay.
Because that's the era of like loud, annoying, screaming, like kid shows.
Yeah.
Where like it feels like, especially from Disney, it feels like most of the shows made then were like protagonist kid is sarcastic about something. Adults don't know anything about anything that's happening.
Gotcha.
And like that just doesn't jive with our parental
That's fair.
life. And like I understand, like, but we also watch Bluey. We love Bluey.
Yeah, yeah.
Bluey is
Yeah.
great, and like half the toddlers on that are kind of that, but
Yeah.
like there's more variant. Like there are other things that it does too. So
Yes.
it's not just like that.
I feel like the sarcasm in Bluey seems almost like their family common language.
Exactly.
As opposed to just like, these parents are too dumb to understand. I'm really smart.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My turn.
Yep.
Do you have a favorite kid's toy?
Favorite kids toy. I have a favorite one that we gave to a friend, and then I have a favorite one that my son plays with.
Yeah, you can do both.
Yeah, the one that we gave to our friend was a Target. I think they still sell this. It's a keyboard cat. So it's like a little like 15-key keyboard where every note is a cat meow. And it is easily the most obnoxious toy that's ever been made.
Do your friends think it's the best gift they've
No, absolutely not.
Did you give it as a gag gift or something?
Kind of.
That's
I
like a frenemy. That's like just so you
That's-
know, I don't actually like you that much. Have a cat.
enjoy. It'll be fun. I'm pretty sure that keyboard disappeared. I'm not too sure.
Oh yeah, that one went to the shop and just never came
Yeah,
back.
it's like batteries don't fit in this anymore. I don't know.
Weird.
That's
You guys
How'd that
should
work out?
keep that as if you have a small group of
Oh, that'd be
friends
awesome.
to just give it.
Oh yeah, no, it's the Sisterhood of Traveling Pants, but
Yeah,
keyboard
yeah,
cat.
yeah.
It's great. The one that my son plays with, we got a Loog guitar, so it's
Yeah.
like a toddler-sized guitar,
cool.
and it's super dope. The 2 things that I love about it is that it's getting him into music, and it's a 3-string guitar, which means it can never really be that out of tune.
Yeah.
Because like even like if you have just like the craziest like setup, it's like trying to knock over a bar stool that's got 3 legs. Like
Yeah.
it's always going to be level on some level. Like it may be the weirdest chord you've ever heard of, but it's a triad, and so you can't like it never sounds as bad as my guitar after sitting like out for a while and getting out of tune. So,
Justin,
Maybe I should get that for myself.
yeah.
3 notes make a triad, so whatever you play, it's always going to be a chord in some way.
Okay.
There you go.
Well, then I should get it.
Are you a music theory nerd also? Are you?
I'm working on it. So
Okay.
Birthday or kind of a not really a birthday present, but a like Christmas present to myself was piano lessons.
Yeah.
Like I've self-taught guitar player, and the problem with being a self-taught guitar player is that you never actually learn theory, and so went back to try to do piano lessons, and so I've been doing that for a little while.
Sweet.
And,
Because it's math, you know, you find a key, there's math to it.
Yeah.
You figure it out.
It's
Plug and
neat.
fill.
It means that I can actually like, hang out in Nashville and be like, oh yeah, here's what a
Yeah.
triad is.
Yeah,
And
pretty
people
much.
are like, yeah, no, I see
Yeah,
that.
of course. We'll teach you Nashville numbers later.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You slap at the bass.
I filled in for a bass player once in a church band.
Yes!
And I
I've done
tore
that so many times.
I tore up my finger so bad that I refused to play bass. So
Slap
come
at the
on.
bass, man.
If you grew up in the mid 2000s in any form and you played guitar and you played in a church worship group, someone's like, "Hey, we don't have a bass player," and you're like, "Well, I guess I'm playing bass today."
basically, yeah.
Relatively easy to play, I'm
No,
guessing.
it's just that like you can fake. I think
You
it's a
can
lot
fake it
easy to
easier.
fake it because you can just play like the root of the note of the chord
Yeah.
basically and go like boom. Because most people aren't paying attention to the bass line.
Oh, I always.
Unless you're a big fan of the bass.
Oh, yeah.
Who's your favorite bass player, Justin?
Slap at the bass.
Say Carl from Michael Fronti because he's great.
Appropriate answer.
Yeah.
Justin. So anyway, last question.
All right. What moment of your kid's life are you most excited to be a part of?
Not quite answering the question, but a thing that has been really interesting lately with my son that I'm excited to see continue to happen and to eventually happen with my daughter is we went to go get a vaccine for him recently. He, like most kids, is not like super thrilled about going and getting shots.
Yeah.
But is certainly more of a trooper than I ever was, it's so he overall does great at the doctor's office. But the thing that's been really fascinating to watch is his way of processing it later, because he plays out. So like he has never been interested in playing doctor before. But this last week, he's wanted to play doctor like 4 or 5 times, and every time we do it, he goes through the entire like I took him to the doctor, and like we sit in the waiting room, and like that's what we did in the doctor's office, and then we go in the back, and we have a whole process with him. Where like we talk about like we're getting a shot and here's how we're going to go through it, and like when you're getting the shot, if it feels bad, make a scrunched up face and go "Ee," and it's over, and it's and like the nurses eat it up, they love it, but it also works for him and it's great.
Yeah.
And like we do that during the play, and it's super fun. And we also got a haircut last week too together, and so like it's been fun watching him mash that up, because at the end of the doctor's visit, he cuts your hair, and it's like, all right, cool. This is like a
Where do you
medieval.
find that's a barber. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd. Yeah.
So
yeah.
so to answer your question, I think watching him come up with like new and fascinating ways to like learn and process like both like new knowledge and emotion, I think is a really like interesting thing, because I'm going to be taking notes. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's pretty cool.
yeah.
Well, Brandon, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. This
Thanks
is
for having me.
normally whenever we give the person an opportunity to promote their like Instagram and everything, but I feel like you don't do anything on Instagram, so you can promote the baking notifications if you want.
Yeah, if you follow my Instagram, you're going to get like not 10-year-old, but you're going to get like several-year-old watercolor paintings that I've done, which I mean, like and support and all and subscribe and all that, I guess. But really, the thing that you should do is go to thebakingnotificationproject.com or find us on Instagram. Again, the Baking Notification Project, and find a baker that's in your area. And if there is not a baker in your area, you should go, assuming that we have launched this thing by the time this podcast goes out, you should go and sign up to be a baker and bring baked goods to your neighborhood. And I think the thing about that is that with a lot of our bakers, not all the time, but a lot of times people will like be nervous and anxious about wanting to do this because like it's a big deal, right? It's in some ways it's putting yourself out there, and so from a like from a like safety perspective, it feels like a big step, right? It's like I'm taking my baking more seriously than I was before. Like, I'm not opening a bake shop. I'm not like going to farmers markets or whatever. I'm not going to work at a bakery.
Yeah.
But I'm sharing stuff.
There's vulnerability there.
There is some vulnerability there. And for some of the bakers, like like the way that our subscription service works, you can either give away your baked goods for free or you can give them, you can sell subscriptions for $10 a month. And so especially for the folks that are doing it for $10 a month, like that, there's some pressure to that.
Yeah.
And the thing that I would remind people is that, you are enough. Like if you want to make this stuff and like you enjoy it and all of that, like you can probably find your tribe. And you can probably find people who like will support you, both like just literally just to get a baked good, or they might be supporting you because you're a cool human who makes really interesting stuff. So like, it's cool to try it. If you don't do it here, that's fine. Go do your thing. But that's my spiel.
That's awesome.
So my actual spiel, besides signing up for the Baking Notification Project, is get some therapy so you can answer questions like that.
Yes. There you go. Well, thanks for coming to Dad Walks, first and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thanks for being on the show.
Yeah,
really appreciate
likewise.
it.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks again for listening. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Nashville Dads and to subscribe to us on Apple and Spotify podcast. We record at New Light Podcast Studio and episodes are produced by me, Devin.